Hey y'all, Daniel Aaron here, your guide to vibrant living. By the way, I say y'all on purpose. I know it is at the risk of appearing hillbilly, redneck, not so smart. Second person plural. English doesn't have it. So, hi y'all, Daniel Aaron. Retrograde planets, right? This is something that in certain circles is getting a lot of press right now. And it is true that in 2018 we've had a confluence of planets retrograde. First of all, what does that mean, planets retrograde? It means that relative to our orbit, the planets appear to be going backwards. See how that goes? Like they're moving forward, and then this goes faster, so it seems like they're going. It's the thing like when you're, sometimes if you're on a bus and the bus is going along, you're not driving, you look over and it looks suddenly like the car next to you is going backwards, but really it's just because the bus is going faster. So that's how retrograde planets work in a physical sense, slightly oversimplified. And energetically, one way of looking at retrogrades is this, that planets always symbolize certain energetics or needs that we all have. We all have Jupiter, we all have Venus, we all have Mercury, and we all have certain needs that are represented by those planets. We will meet those needs in different ways, and that's part of what we get from looking at the constellation that they're in, the sign that the planets are in. And then there's the aspects, the angles, all of that counts. What's most important right now for you is that when planets are in their normal movement, not retrograde or forward motion, we say that the energetic of that planet is manifesting itself, is alive in a more direct, positive way. And when it's retrograde, it's a little bit like the energy represented by that planet. That need is not working so smoothly. And lots of words that start with R-E, are indicative of the kind of energy. That means things like rework, reconsider, revisit, revamp, revitalize. It's a little bit like the principle that sometimes in order to make good forward progress, one needs to be able to step back. The principle that is well represented by the quotation, if you've got 2 hours to chop down a tree, spend the first hour sharpening your axe. By the way, I don't recommend chopping down trees unless absolutely necessary. Look at those guys. All right, so what does this mean for us now? First of all, different planets have different orbits, and some go quite quickly around the sun, less than a year, 2 years from Mars. Some go much longer, like Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, Jupiter, Saturn to some degree. Those ones that have the long cycles around the moon, they're furthest away. Part of what their retrograde cycle is 6, 7, 8 months forward, 3, 4 months backwards, something like that. And so it's long cycles, which is, as you do the math, you realize like, okay, so Pluto, for instance, 5 months retrograde every year. So on one hand, no big deal. That's happening pretty much, every year. So, it's half the time it's that way. And when you get, closer into where we are, Mercury, right, which is one of the quickest planets, well illustrated by the symbology of it. It's kind of like quicksilver, communication, electrical energy, learning, talking fast. That's all Mercury. Mercury is about connections, connecting the dots. It's about communicating. So when Mercury is retrograde, which it will be soon, July 26th, and it happens 3 times per year for 3 weeks at a time. Right? A lot of threes in there. When Mercury is retrograde, and this is the most famous or commonly known of the retrograde planets, if you're just 1 degree out from being into astrology, you might hear about this kind of thing. Mercury retrograde, and unfortunately there's a little bit of mistaken talk about it. Before I tell you though about it, let me step back and say, big picture, yes, a lot of retrogrades right now. And if we look just generally, we could say, okay, part of what that means is Forward motion is a little bit slowed down or reworked. Right? So there is a need, a desire, an indication, an instruction to go within. Right? And sometimes we need that in order to be able to charge forward. We need the time, maybe circumstances are right. We need certain learning, gathering of our strength, which is good way of looking at it. Something that, ooh, that's exciting. That never happens. All right, well, we'll use that as a way to dive into Mercury. And unless an answering machine comes on, and then I'll pause here, because who knows, But Mercury is, okay, I'm going to just pause for a minute. I'll be right back. Oh, wait, no, okay. I'm still with you. I usually do videos outside, so anyway, okay, back on track. Right now, there are a lot of planets retrograde saying to us, slow down, reconsider, right? It will be advantageous to delay. Sometimes that's what it means. Sometimes it just means, all right, it's just a little bit slower right now. Well, let's keep moving forward. Sometimes that can be discouraging when we don't realize it. So that's okay, one overview tip. Another is, yeah, these slow-moving planets, that happens frequently. So in a way, no big deal. Coming up soon, though, we've got Mercury, which I'll say a bit more about in a moment. Mars, right? Jupiter just went direct, so that's also Saturn. Mars and Saturn, and I'm recording this specifically for y'all, fellow founders in our Educators Collective, UXL. Cheers, Lars. And offering it to the general tribe, because it's information that's useful and important. And again, there's a lot of misinformation out there about it right now. So one, it's not an all-consuming, oh my goodness, my life. Never do we want astrology to be ruling us. We want it to be a tool that helps us. And as dear brother Paramahansa Yogananda well illustrated in Autobiography of a Yogi, he would challenge his astrologers to tell him the least advantageous time for projects and works. And whatever they said, he said, okay, good to know. And I will accomplish what I set out to accomplish, because nothing is more powerful than human will. True, though, he also said that it was more difficult during those periods. So for us, astrology, for me, astrology is always a tool that aids us in our understanding, our reading of the energies around us. So what do we make of that right now? Between now and end of August, especially the first 3 weeks of August, that's a time when very likely we could feel frustrated about forward movement, like things are getting in the way or blocking us. And that often is for a purpose, for us to say, okay, why? What's the benefit of that? What do I need to reconsider, redo, revamp? What do I need to look at again? From July 26th up till whatever 3 weeks is from that, mid-August, with Mercury retrograde, classic example, illustration of it is when two people are meeting at a train station. One starts here and one starts here, and they walk toward each other and just pass right by without seeing each other because it's crowded. And they get to the other end, and then they start forward again, and then they walk past each other again. Right? That's Mercury retrograde energy. It's like, just doesn't quite connect. And oftentimes electronics go awry and communications go awry. And I would say to a client who asks me about this, if there's a time when Mercury is challenged, Mercury retrograde, do I not sign the deal? Do I not finalize this thing? And I said, well, no, it doesn't mean that we stop our lives. Again, it's to service. It does mean, though, that we are wise to consider. Consider, by the way, means with the stars, consider, with the stars. Right? And just like Hippocrates said that any physician would be a fool not to consult a patient's astrological indications as part of the treatment. And so when Mercury is retrograde, what do? Well, maybe we do sign the contract or make the new product or launch it out or whatever it is. Or what we also do is we are wise to consider, again, to maybe read the contract a second time, a third time, to have some backup plans to make sure the communication works, and just to be prepared that it might not flow, right? Mercury is flow, might not flow quite as easily. Right? Toward the end of August, Saturn goes direct, which is a lot about structure and stability and work. Mars is, I think, even before that. So by the end of August into September, a lot of us are going to feel like things that have been taking a long time, and then suddenly it's like, whew, and they just kind of shoot forward. And please understand, with astrology, there's no value on any of it. It's all here to serve us. So the best question to be asking along the way is, what is this for? How is this helping me? What is this delay bringing me that I wouldn't have got if I had been charging more forward in the way that certainly the human part of me would like to do? All right. I hope that is helpful for y'all. Founders, for you especially, we're in private communication, so feel free to reach out if you got questions or comments on it. And everyone else, thanks for tuning in. See you soon.